you guys are looking for a place to get some reliable Ultimate Team coins, be sure to check the link in the description below to cointraders.co and use code LEGACY for 5% off of your purchase. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Now, a lot of us make these huge wish lists for upcoming iterations for NHL 20, hoping for some big changes across the board, myself included on this one, of course, but we do all have to keep in mind that this game does come out yearly and does come with a smaller budget than, say, the FIFAs or the Apexes of the EA world. So today, I want to go over my honest expectations for NHL 20. Starting off with HUT, EA's flagship game mode. Now, there is a lot of smaller things that could be added to the game for HUT. Team collections is always a smaller feature I'd love to see back in the game and I absolutely die for, but for whatever reason, EA took those out. So I don't imagine them putting them back into the game because it does seem unlikely for them to remove them. They had to have a reason for doing it, so I don't expect them coming back. But HUT has become a very deep game mode since then, though. We've seen the objectives and milestones added. We have seen solo challenges added. And then, of course, we have comp seasons. We have HUT champs as well. And even though we did lose team collections, we did gain the addition of having sets in the game to go along with it as well. For that, I don't see EA making any drastic new game mode or major feature additions to HUT. But I do think, as mentioned, something small could come in here. Maybe tiered milestones, you know, complete all of these milestones here, and then when you complete every single one of them, then you get a master milestone set collection player or something where you get an even better player for putting all of these players into that set, locking them in, obviously not losing them on your team, and so on and so forth. Stuff like that where we see tiered milestone stuff. That way there's more depth to the milestones. There's already a lot of great stuff in milestones, but just adding one extra small thing, we could see something like that along the lines. Or we could possibly see the addition of solo challenges that aren't just 2-minute hockey games, but instead legit challenges where we relive a real-life hockey moment and, you know, the situations for the challenges are based on that. Maybe we have to come in the third, complete the 3-goal comeback or something, stuff like that happening, more in-depth on the challenges. That is, again, something small, something easy for them to add. You don't have to have full games, you just do partial games. I feel like that's something easy, something small that could be added in the HUT next year as well. Again, just adding more depth to another game mode in HUT compared to just adding something completely different. And then last but not least, I do kind of expect a new gold card. We have kind of seen new gold cards pretty much yearly, bi-yearly, whatever it is. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did get a new revamp gold and gold rare card coming into next year as well. We'll see what happens with that, though. Besides that, though, I don't really see a whole lot more being added into HUT this year. To be completely honest, HUT's a pretty deep game mode. It has come a very, very long way over the years. And right now, I can see them being in that position where they can just add some minor things to HUT to freshen it up from this year to next, but not a lot of major things where we see a brand new thing like solo challenges introduced or anything like that. Now, I guess Draft Champions does count as a game mode in HUT, I think. That's something, though, I don't think they care about Draft Champions. I wouldn't be surprised if it just magically wasn't in the game next year, to be completely honest, because, I don't know, they just don't like Draft Champions. It is what it is, I guess. Not a lot of people play it, I guess, so it ain't too big of a deal, but I don't really expect anything but, I don't know, 75 overall card rewards for Draft Champions this year. They seem to go down 4 or 5 overall points every year. The rewards do. I think we're, what, 82 minus 4 or 5? That'd be about a 78, 77, yeah. Somewhere around there for the Draft Champions rewards as well next year, but, you know, lone players for only 3 games instead of 6 this year. And then we move on to our World of Chel game mode. Now, as far as expectations for World of Chel go next year, again, I don't have a whole lot of high hopes for World of Chel just because we did see World of Chel completely revamped from NHL 18 and NHL 19, so it kind of just got its makeover. We typically see, you know, the EA spreads this stuff out. They spread the wealth around where they go, or spread the love around, however you want to look at it, or they will revamp certain game modes. We've seen them do it with franchise mode a year. They did a, you know, kind of an overhaul with HUT. They kind of progressively do HUT every single year, like I said, the more important game mode. But, you know, we just seen ESHL one, World of Chel this year, where we've seen all this stuff added this year. So I don't quite imagine seeing something completely new with NHL or World of Chel next year. Maybe we see something different with, you know, editing your custom or you're editing your loadouts. Maybe we see more traits and stuff along those lines. We just don't see the traits we have this year. We could see a farther branch off with that. I could see maybe we have, for when it comes to playing games, there's more of a play with friends option for when you play, or not over the top online action, but for when you play NHL 1s. I know people would like to see something like that. Again, it's something easy to add into the game, so I wouldn't be too surprised if we've seen a new NHL 1s feature where we could play with friends and, you know, invite people to a 3-man lobby to play. Definitely something likely happen there. And then, of course, we do have Pro-Am, something newly introduced as well this year. I would not be surprised at all if we've seen more depth into this as well, doing some different things. I mean, the ability to earn XP and everything like that has been pretty nice for Pro-Am. But I wouldn't be surprised if they started adding, you know, where you can earn more XP if you play on, like, Legend difficulty or All-Star difficulty and going more in depth with that. I don't imagine this looking the exact same next year. Maybe some, you know, regardless, they'll change up some of the stuff in here. whatever they do. So I do see some pro-am, maybe extension, give people more things to do online, quote unquote, offline. And, you know, besides that, it wouldn't be a surprise again if we see more customization items and stuff added to the SHL. Maybe more goal celebrations, more goal sticks, you know, stuff like that. The cosmetic stuff, it's always kind of big when you see it year after year for your Be a Pro kind of thing where you edit your own player. You always see the customization stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that jumped in there as well. But other than that, I don't see a whole lot more coming in there for World of Chel. I think it'll be minor stuff this year. Hopefully we do see some server improvement now that we're talking about it. That needs to go across the board though, where I don't know if they'll ever be able to do that though for a while though. I feel like that's kind of expensive. Oh, I've played Be a Pro a lot this year. Dang, look at that. I don't even have a loaded player or anything. I've been raking into Be a Pro, clearly. But yeah, it had the ability to not have so much ping and delay for some people. I'm definitely sure that some people are, you know, thinking about that for World of Chel and stuff. But I don't know how easy. I don't know if I can put that as an expectation change. That might not be something changed for years and years down the road until they figure out something with how you can have the East and West Coast servers properly connect to each other without having a ridiculously bad ping and 1.5 second delay. So we'll see what happens there. But yes, we are on Be a Pro next, and we're gonna go bold on this one. Very, very bold. Be a Pro has done absolutely nothing but lose features since NHL 14, and we've seen no updates since Next Gen consoles come out. And as we've been mentioning, revamping game modes year by year for ESHL, for World of, or for franchise mode, and for HUT and everything else like that. We've been mentioning that year after year we see something different revamped. I think this year is finally the year we see Be a Pro revamped. And it truly is a mode that can be a moneymaker for EA if it is revamped. I don't think it's going to be a HUT moneymaker, of course. But we have seen people strictly buy sports games, you know, like Road to the Show or 2K's My Player stuff. We see them strictly buy it for their campaign, quote-unquote, modes for their My Player. So a revamp can definitely help something like NHL, I think. And I think that might be the path they take this year. I think this is finally the year we see a journey for our player. You know, I don't even know if is that the word we're looking for, a journey? I guess we can call it a journey. It sounds good. Now, the extent of that quote-unquote journey, I'm unsure of, because we do have to keep in mind the years and years of work other sports games have put into their Be a Pro modes over the years to get to where they are right now. So it would be kind of hard and unrealistic to ask EA to put all of those years and years of work in from other game modes into just 1 year's worth of work for NHL 19 to get Be a Pro to be exactly like those game modes are. So I do think it's a slow growth thing. We do have to, again, expectations over wish list. We have to keep the expectations realistic here, and that's what we're going over some of my honest expectations today. So I'm expecting more of a dialogue box type of revamp to start Be a Pro. I don't really think we see the vocal interactions, but more, you know, with the players and coaches, but more instead of locker room scenes and ice scenes where you have the little dialogue text box that comes up where it's like, hey, do you want to do the morning skate today? And you're like, yes, no, or hey, you want to take this interview? And then the interviewer asks you questions, you read the interview questions, and then you have, you know, the 4 selected answers. You remember Live the Life a little bit, kind of along those lines to an extent, but, you know, freshened up a little bit. But I mean, as that might sound, it's a progression. I guess you can't expect tomorrow to turn this game on and it to be 2K My Career, right? Or you can't expect it to come on and be Road to the Show. We see the progress those modes make every single year. We have to just start by making progress and then progressing year after year after year for Be a Pro. So I like that. I think it's a great start for Be a Pro if we see stuff like that. And then maybe seeing some more smaller additions added as well, where there's more luxury stuff like, you know, being able to request trades, more stuff affecting your player morale, more contract negotiating stuff, you know, some specialty games such as the All-Star game or playing in a Winter Classic. And then finally, and most importantly, the need for players to ladder their way to the NHL. Again, I think this goes part of the journey here. You're starting in the CHL, maybe even for a year if you want to play an entire year in the CHL, or maybe not. Some people don't want to do that. And in that case, you can obviously just hit the skip to the NHL feature like you do have right now. But it does add more depth, you know, playing the CHL. But, you know, if you don't want to do that, maybe you play in a Memorial Cup, which is still a thing now. But instead of just playing in the Memorial Cup, your performance does weigh a lot more on how you do. So you get drafted because you did really badly. You get drafted in the second round. Well, now you're forced to start your career in the AHL because you got drafted in the second round. You're not just going to play in the NHL. But let's say you did really well and you get drafted top 15. You got to start straight on the NHL. Again, part of the journey, part of how you get drafted. More depth to the game mode. We'll see if it happens. I do think that is still some lofty expectations for a game mode that hasn't been messed with in so long, but I'm optimistic, and I do think it is finally time we see that Be a Pro mode revamp. And then switching over to the lovely franchise mode. Now for franchise mode, again, a mode where I don't see too many major changes. We'll get it out of the way early, and I'll say it real quick for you guys. Connected franchise, I don't think it's happening. I'd say there's maybe a 10% it gets added. I'd love to see it. I would absolutely love to see franchise mode where I can play with my friends and I know so many others would as well, but at the end of the day, I haven't seen the tone change much from a majority of the bigger community leaders in the NHL series, and a lot of them don't play franchise mode, and therefore they don't really want it, or do they see the point of bringing back GM Connected? So, but I will say this, I do feel like progress has slowly being chipped away. I think more and more people are starting to think about it rather than just completely shutting down the idea of GM Connected, but I do feel like at the end of the day, franchise mode is something that has to be heavily community backed. You have to see a lot of those bigger guys want to see franchise mode, a lot of, bigger opinions, a lot of people agreeing, yes, I'd love to see franchise mode. It has to be heavily backed to get put back in a game, I think, because, again, something they removed because it wasn't played enough the first time around, but it wasn't played enough the first time around because the servers were slow and, da-da-da-da-da. And it really hasn't been tried since the next gens came out in general. And the other thing is, obviously, you're going to have to see the community backing it because they're not going to just put a server into a game, pay for that server all year round, and then not have people play it. So it is very important to see a big community backing of getting Connected franchise back in the game if EA is just going to go out there and pay for a separate server just for the game mode. Other than that, though, I don't see a whole lot changing from this year to next year. Maybe we see some more in-depth with the Fog of War stuff. Maybe we see some more in-depth with some contract negotiation stuff, some player morale stuff, stuff like that. Some minor cosmetic stuff that affects things. Maybe one of the bigger things we could see is the trade, mechanism being changed a little bit. Again, where we're not having to give up 4 first-round draft picks for a guy like Mika Zibanejad or 3 first-round draft picks for Erik Karlsson, whose contract ends in 3 months, or something along those lines, where we see that reworked a little bit. Or maybe we see the feature of suggesting trades where, you can get trade suggestions from other teams for your players, see what they'll give up for them and stuff like that as well. Smaller stuff, but still some cool stuff that would be nice to see added in the franchise mode. I think people would be happy with. But with the Fog of War stuff just being added, we've seen the owner mode. Was that NHL 17 or 18 where we've seen owner mode added? It might have been 17 because I think it was 18. Everybody told me I was playing NHL 17 every time I got on franchise mode. So I think that was 17. So, I think there's still just depth things, not completely new features, but depth things being added to make Fog of War maybe better and more usable, more realistic, more enjoyable for the people that enjoy using it and stuff like that along the lines. But as far as major new features, I don't see too much happening with franchise mode. And then finally, the last major thing we're going to talk about for NHL 20, and to some, the most important, and that is the gameplay. First of all, Frostbite, it's not happening. I don't think it's happening. Sorry, at this point, it's probably best we hope not to get Frostbite, to be completely honest, because, the next-gen consoles are literally a year or two away from the looks of it, unless they push it back even farther, which is possible. We'll see. But from my understanding, Frostbite's a very complex, time-consuming engine that takes some time to figure out, and something, it made sense to throw in 2 years ago. But now that I hear this next-gen console stuff coming out, it's got me thinking of NHL 15 again. It's got me thinking I don't need EA going out there worrying about another thing like Frostbite that's taking up all their time, when they need to be focusing on making sure we can go to next-gen and actually have an entire game instead of a game that came with 1 mode and misses like 6. So I would definitely like to see the progress in what we currently have and keep it and get better, and then worry about the graphics and stuff like that along the lines when we do get to that next gen console, because it will probably change. But as far as the rest of the gameplay is concerned, I'm expecting, actually guaranteeing, we get promos on how puck pickups are better and fixed, as we've gotten for about the last 8 years now. But again, it'll be something we won't really know until we actually get our hands onto the game and get our chance to play it a little bit to see how they've done. Puck pickups are a difficult thing to figure out. I'm not, I don't know how to program a game, but I can understand the difficulty in it. There ain't a lot of other games where something like that is a concern. Well, I guess FIFA's got ball pickups. I don't really have a problem with that. But, pucks bounce a little bit different than a soccer ball does as well. Besides that, though, I kind of feel like NHL has kind of ventured away from trying to be a realistic sim hockey game to being more of an arcade-style game. I mean, you just take a look at, say, dekes and bumps, for example. I can LT cut and dekes and do perfect dekes to be perfectly fine here. Perfect LT cuts. LT cuts that 99% of players in the league can't do. Or, okay, maybe 100% when you see how tight they are, but not the point. I was doing with Zdeno Chara the other day, and I don't know if Zdeno Chara's ever deked like Patrick Kane or Connor McDavid, but he does it in this game all the time. And, you can also skate into a guy going full board and just bounce off him. He just keeps on going, doesn't even lose the puck. That kind of stuff, it's like, oh, okay, that's whatever. That's what they want. That's the kind of reason I think we're seeing more of an arcade style of game. I'm not, if I'm not knocking it, if people enjoy that stuff, they enjoy it. I'm just saying, from a simulation to an arcade style game, I think our expectations have to be expecting more of an arcadey type game than we do seeing more realisticness from the real NHL into the game from this year to next. Because at the end of the day, I do feel like it does seem like it's pretty split down the middle, I'd say, from realistic to arcadey. Some people get a lot really upset when things like losing the puck on an LT cut or not completing every single deke known to man when you're doing them. People feel like, oh, the dekes, there's a lot of people that feel like the dekes aren't good enough right now, as if every NHL hockey game in real life sees this many successful dekes ever attempted. But again, it's what people enjoy. If they enjoy that kind of thing, they enjoy that kind of thing. But when you look at the successful deke ratio to real life to where it is in this game, it's not even close. But again, you know, video game, that's how they want it. That's how they want it. But I mean, when you're looking at the game from that standpoint, though, I don't think we can see too many drastic gameplay changes because, again, if we're not looking for more realistic stuff, what can we really expect here? If we're not looking for realistic changes, I can't say, well, I expect this, and this to happen because it's more realistic. We're looking at arcadey things, so it's kind of, the expectations aren't as high then. You see the same shot, same save, same bump, same dekes, you know, the same 85 skate players catching 99 speed players from behind. It'll probably all be in a game next year. What I do expect, though, is gameplay balancing. To be completely honest, gameplay is actually not bad. I think it's in a pretty good place when it comes to the feel of the game right now. It feels pretty good when you're skating. At least personally for me, I haven't really felt that sluggish or anything. I felt like they did a pretty good job with the skating mechanic from that standpoint this year. But, you know, tuner after tuners kind of changed how the skating and bumping and everything works this year. With months instead of days, though, to figure stuff like this out, I do think we see EA find the balance of the stick checking, the stick lifting, you know, the hitting and stuff like that for next year's game. It's certainly a very political area nonetheless of the game, so I ain't going to go too much farther in depth of it than that. But obviously, EA is going to do what they think is best for the game, and I'm interested and ready to give whatever they're going to put out in next year's game a shot and hope for the best out of it. But these are my expectations this year. Anything more than this, and I'll be beyond thrilled with the game to see what's coming. But this is what I'm thinking. I'd like to hear your guys' expectations as well for next year compared to maybe things you want to see, compared to things you expect to see. So let's hear them down below. As for this video, though, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.